Welcome back, you Logseq aficionados. I came across the problem of checkboxes today, and you might not think that it's a problem, but it is. And we'll talk about it and explore together how you can achieve checkboxes in Logseq database. Okay, and as always, we'll go through checkboxes worked in the Markdown version of Logseq, if I can remember, that is. Okay, yeah, that's right. So I think it had to have content for it to become an actual checkbox. Are we correct in assuming that? No? What? It seems as though I've forgotten how to use Logseq in the last... This is so bizarre, man. Let's try and read it. Ooh, 3 notifications. Okay, so that's the key part. A checkbox that is not a tracked to-do cannot be in the first line of a block. Has it really been that long since I created a checkbox in Logseq? Okay, so you type this and then do asterisks or a hyphen would probably work. We can test that as well. Item 1, and then do the same for this one. The syntax of things always trips me up, and that's why I was not very good at programming, because I just, for the life of me, I don't know if it's some, problem that I have, but it clearly is, because it's something that happens over and over again. But having the exact syntax for something tripped me up. And for the life of me, I just could never remember the exact syntax for things. Maybe it's because I didn't do it often enough. But in case you are the same as me and you struggle with the syntax, well, let's just make sure that it works. Okay, cool. So it does actually work. Okay. So it didn't. Okay. So now we know what went wrong and what does work with the Markdown version. Apparently, I don't know if I've created checkboxes. Anyway, so to create a checkbox in the Markdown version of Logseq, you need to have a line. So this is the block, right? This part is the block. All that's in here is one single block. So when you want to create a checkbox, you need to write something on the first line and then press Shift Enter to the second line, and then asterisk, space, open square bracket, space. So the space is important, otherwise it won't work. Close square bracket, space, and then whatever it is that and we can experiment with this just to show that that's exactly how it works. So say, for example, we forget to put a space in between those. That one shouldn't. So that can be item 6, and then we could do no spaces at all. And we can pretty much guarantee that that's not going to work. And you can see here now. So if we zoom in on this part that my mouse is circling and hold it there, we can see which ones rendered correctly and which ones didn't. So, and it's actually perfect for this because so the one that didn't have a space didn't render the checkbox. The one that didn't have a space in between the asterisks and the first open square bracket didn't render, and then the rest of them, it's redundant because we knew that they weren't going to render correctly. And you'll notice that visually, so this is a bullet point where my mouse is pointing right here. And then when we did a shift tab, so this is technically, that's why I thought it's funny that it doesn't actually render correctly if you use a hyphen instead, because in Markdown, it's, in the actual Markdown syntax, it doesn't matter if you use an asterisk or a hyphen, because this bullet point here is technically a hyphen. So we can see the file here, how it actually formats, and you'll notice if we zoom in on this part that's highlighted so that we can see it all, you'll notice that here is a hyphen, right? And then this is basically a tab. Is it a tab or is it 4 spaces. Let's check it out. It looks like 4 spaces. So 1, 2, it's 2 spaces, sorry. So 2 spaces. Alternatively, you could probably do a tab, right? So should we try that? Oh, it automatically. Let's go back and then press tab. Oh, okay. So this is set up, I guess, to do 2 spaces. Maybe we can try doing another tab and then do item 8 and then save that and see how it renders in Logseq. So head back over to Logseq now. That it didn't even show up. That's interesting. Why didn't that show up? I'm gonna close down Logseq and we'll reopen it and see if it shows up. Still not showing up. Okay, so what if we edit this one? Now, whoops. Okay, so if we press tab, it's going to do that. Item 8. Interesting. So even though we went 2 extra spaces in, it still renders at this same level. And if we go back, so I mean that file looks like that. Yeah, okay. So this is just this is just the way that Logseq works, the Markdown version. So I mean there's not really, so I mean the gist is that you need to write it like that. And all right, let's go over to the database version now, because I was struggling a bit with this and I couldn't see how it would work. So let's try the same syntax and see if we can't get the checkboxes working to render how they did in the Markdown version. So we'll say like, here's a list of what I want, and then remember, hold shift and press enter to go down to the next line without creating a new block underneath it. So if we do asterisk, open square bracket, and then a space, close square bracket, space, and then we do item 1. Wow, okay, so it does work. Okay, cool. Because what I was trying to do was, I wonder if it would work if we do like this, item 1. No, okay, so it doesn't work. So you still need to adhere to the same formatting. So I'll show you how I was trying to do it before. So you can see sometimes how my brain just overthinks things. So we'll create a checkbox tag, and then we'll point over this side because it's going to be, so we'll create a checkbox tag, right? And then we'll go to the checkbox tag and I'll show you how I think they want you to use it in the DB version. Quickly, before I do that, I just want to test something as well. So if we create another block down here and then say list, and then we'll create a checkbox item. So space, open square bracket, space, close square bracket, space, item 1, and then escape out of that so that the checkbox renders. And then I want to see, because what I wanted to do was create a to-do item on the main part of it, right? I wanted to create a to-do item on that. So the way that you can do that is if you highlight the block, and then instead you don't right click on this point here. You need to right click on an empty space of the highlighted block area. Oh, and I can't actually add that as a to-do item. So if we just to-do list, and then if we escape, so it highlights the whole lot, and then right click. Why isn't that? Okay, so that's weird. This is it. I don't know why it's doing this, but if you highlight with your mouse, then this menu pops up, right? And you can click this 3 dots and rotate the to-do state. Okay, cool. So we can do that. So this is how I wanted it to render, right? So why would you want to do it like this? So if we go to task, this list is the only thing that shows up in task, and it's got the status of to do, right? However, say for example, you wanted to do some shopping, and you might do this by writing like shopping, and then you go down and then you tab, and then you create your list, right? So milk, bread, eggs. I mean, it doesn't matter, right? We can create a bunch of items here, and then you might be tempted to highlight all of these, press the 3 dots and click on rotate the to-do state. But now if we go to the task, look, it's got all of these items listed as tasks. And I mean, you don't want that, because you think about like how many items you buy every week, how many grocery items you buy every week. This is quickly going to explode out and be a massive list. And you don't want your task page, your task query table to be polluted with all of those items. So, you know, instead of doing that, then how do we remove? I don't know how we remove we can't unset the task. So the only option that we have is rotate the to-do state. But what if we do /to-do? So we can, yeah, I mean, that's potentially, I don't know if this would be considered a bug or, you know, a way that you don't want it to work. However, if we remove the task tag, it doesn't remove the to-do. So, I mean, this might be a way that you could do it. We're unintentionally finding a few different ways that you can do this same thing. But, I mean, the simplest way is to do it this way, how we see here. So this block that's highlighted is the simplest way to achieve what you want without polluting your entire task query table. Alternatively, you can create the to-do items, but if we rotate the to-do state to, let's say, doing, okay, so that's another reason why you shouldn't do it this way. So, I mean, technically you could rotate the to-do, create all of these as to-dos using bulk actions, and then remove the task tag. However, the moment that you change the to-do state, it reapplies the task tag. So that's still going to pollute. So this way here is the only conceivable way that you can do this without polluting your entire task query table. Let's just delete these, because as far as I can see, there's no way to remove this to-do check circle. What do you even call that? Okay, but I actually found a roundabout way of creating. So it is possible to create checkboxes. So you'll notice, like, you know, as we've seen a few times now, you have to create the checkbox item within this block. So you need to do it in this way, right? Like, how can you create a checkbox as a first order item on the block? I'll show you a bit of a hacky way that you can do it, but still the highlighted block is still the simplest way to achieve this. It's a minor inconvenience if you, I mean, and you may not even want to have checkboxes filling up the first order. However, let's just go through an alternative method. Ooh, do we want to do that? No, we don't want to delete. You got to be careful with deleting stuff in the database version, because it's not as simple as just re-adding the page again if you want to reuse the same thing. So what I will do is I'll create a property here called check, and we will assign check as checkbox, and then we should be able to, so you'll notice that it shows up now because we have checkbox here. The check shows up like this as a property. However, we can get this to show the exact same way as that, and this is how you do that. So if you click on this and go to UI position and then choose beginning of the block, and then you go to, I don't know, you got to, why is that not, okay, I think maybe we have to create another one here. So there you go. So when you define it again, it shows up like that, and you can have it as a first order checkbox item. But you may not want to apply checkbox to every single, and the reason, so I just realized the reason why, if you remove the task tag the same way as we just removed the checkbox tag, is that this block still has the properties. So yes, you've removed the tag, but you didn't remove the actual properties from the block. So if we do like list item here, then we should be able to set the property here as check. Yes, we can do that. Highlighting blocks is still a bit of a pain sometimes. So we can go, sometimes you have to right click on the empty space of the block just to get this menu to show up, because it doesn't reliably show up. But we can go to set property, and then the check property that we created within the checkbox tag, and we can set the check to false, so property updated. So we can assign properties to blocks, and we can tick it and whatever without having to apply the checkbox tag to every single one. Okay, so we've got a bunch of items now. If we highlight those, we should be able to, so my theory is that we should be able to use bulk actions to set the property of all of these to check, and we can do false. Yes, okay, cool. So we can we can now create all of these items as a top level thing. And I mean, you probably wouldn't use it in that way. So we should, in theory, let's create a bunch of items here. Okay, so in theory, we should be able to, so my theory is that if we highlight all of these, we should be able to set the property to check and use bulk actions to assign a checkbox to the beginning of all of these. So if we set property to check and then set check to false, yeah, okay, cool. So you can use bulk actions to assign the checkbox property to all of those items at once. However, I don't think that's not going to be how we use it in the real world, because you're not going to, I mean, maybe some people would. However, I don't think that's us, but we would do something like shopping, right? And then indent it and then do like bread, milk, eggs. And then we can highlight all of these, set the property to check, false, and done. That's easy. And then you would probably set this one. So, whoa, why is that? I don't know how to just highlight that single. Okay, that seems a bit of an oversight. So you can't seem to just select that first one. So you might have to do that before. If you want to create this as a to-do item, so then we click on the three dots here and rotate the to-do state. So you can set the top level one as a to-do item. So it shows up in your task list, right? So you can see shopping and you can see that it was on this day. So you can filter by that. And then underneath you would write your items, milk, bread, eggs, and then highlight just these ones and then set property to check, false, and hey presto. And then we go to task and we can see, oh, shopping is the only to-do item on there. So we're not polluting our to-do list. And then we can view it. Yeah, and I mean, as part of the task, you can set the priority if you want. So, oh, it's really, it's a high priority because we don't have any food left. And then, you can see this in the task query table and you can sort by priority. So sort by descending means that the highest is going to be at the top and the lower one. So if we can set this priority to like medium or whatever. Oh, sorry, I don't know why I'm doing that. Medium. And then we can see in the task that this is in order. And if we do it the other way, ascending is going from lowest to highest. Cool. All right. But I think that just about covers it. Hopefully you understand deeply now how checkboxes work in both the Markdown version of Logseq and the database version of Logseq. And yeah, happy list creating. See you in the next.